Welcome back to the book of Psalms, and I'm excited to be with you today. The title of this psalm is Shout, Sing, and Say. You'll see why we've labeled that and titled it that way as we get into the psalm. As I share with you every time that we start a psalm, this is the breakout of the Hebrew Bible. In their Bible, the book of Psalms is 5 books. It has exactly what we read, but they've broken it out into these areas. And there is a hard copy of this lesson, and I would be glad to email it to you. There's the address. It is free. So let's get into the introduction. We do not know who wrote this psalm, and so I put a very little question mark on there. Not a big one, because this really sounds like David. And when you get into reading it, if you've read some of the other Psalms, you'd say, wow, this sure does. But because it doesn't give us a name, we're not going to be dogmatic and say, hey, this was written by David, he just didn't put his name on it. So here's some of the clues. It is written to the chief musician, probably Asaph. That was David's main go-to guy. David would write the psalm. Sometimes David would have music with it. He would share with Asaph and say, okay, I'm going to share this with you. Put it into the temple worship. And he would take it from there and do instrumentation, choirs. Sometimes it would be a play. But it could be one of the other two main chief musicians. This is one of the Psalms of Thanksgiving. And you might step back and say, I don't always see that as I read through it, but stick with us, please. There is a great memory verse, and I like to share verses that I have memorized in my past that are, to me, just great to have. And so it is in verse 18, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. Here's our outline. And we'll get into it right now. So let's start with praise to the Lord in the first 4 verses. Make a joyful noise. Okay, the noise is in the Hebrew, a joyful noise is a shout or a cry, not weeping, but a joyous cry unto God. And in the Hebrew, the word for God here is Elohim that is used. It's the plural form. And then the last Hebrew word that I think is significant to us says, just shout praises unto our God, all ye nations, all ye lands, all the people. Sing forth the honor of his name. And just in that phrase, once again in the Hebrew, it would be saying, sing, and just let praises burst of the honor of his name and who he is. Set in position, place in position, make his praise or make this song glorious or abundant just sing with honor and respect to the Lord. So here we have a lot of singing going on, and I don't know where you are. I like good Christian music. My wife and I sing together. We love choirs, church choirs, and are in them. So anyway, the Bible says to everybody, though, make a joyful noise to the Lord. Say unto God, how terrible. And I don't know that this is the best translation. The word terrible here can be translated and is most often revere or fear or honor the Lord. The word fear is not thinking God is a big bully, is a terrible person, but that he is to be feared or honored, revered for who he is. And the psalmist is saying, say unto God, how honorable are you in your works? How I just stand in awe of how you work in lives and in creation and just who you are. Through the greatness or the magnitude of your power, your might, your strength, shall your enemies cringe themselves unto you. All the earth shall worship. Actually, it means bow down here. Shall bow down to you and shall sing unto you. Once again, sing out praises. They shall sing to your name. Selah. All right, Selah, and we're going to see it again. And just as a reminder, it's a musical rest, and it actually means to stop the music and the singing. And we are to think about the first 4 verses. And so it might be a good time to just pause this video and just think about what has been said up to this point. Then we get in the next verses, 3 of them, protection from the enemy. Come and see the works of God. He is to be revered or feared in his doing toward the children of men. See verse 3 for terrible. We just read it. He turned or he overthrew. He overturns the sea into dry land. And literally they're talking about the Red Sea, what he's done, the Jordan River perhaps too, but it's the Red Sea. And the children of Israel walked through it. It was a great feat of the Lord. And they went through the flood on foot. There did we rejoice in him. So the sea is the Mediterranean Sea. The flood means river, through the river on foot. That's the Jordan River. And there did we rejoice in the Lord. He rules, he reigns by his power forever. His eyes keep an eye on the nations. Isn't that interesting? The word behold means he's keeping an eye on people, on the nations. He keeps an eye on us. Let not the rebellious or the stubborn or the rebellions of this world exalt, lift on high themselves. So when he is talking about the people that do not believe, the rebellious, the people that are far from God, and he's saying, don't let them take center stage. Don't let the people that say, we don't believe in this God. Don't let them be the stars. They need to be set aside, and we see the Lord on high. And abruptly, I think, once again, we stop with Selah and are think of those 3 verses. That are we going to let people get in our way from praising God? Are we going to let ungodly people overshadow his greatness? Then there is the place of abundance. This has a lot of the verses of the chapter. Oh, bless, kneel before our God, you people, and make the voice of his praise to be heard. Speak the Lord, share the Lord, which holds our soul in life. Now, this is interesting. Hold in the Hebrew means to keep in place. It doesn't mean keeping his hand like his hand is on it, but it can have that connection that the Lord holds in place, that he keeps in place our soul, which is actually in the Hebrew is soul. But what's our soul? It's our life. It's our self, who we are, what makes us different from everyone else. But our soul is eternal. And in life is in living. And so he shares with us that it is the Lord in hard times and rough times that he holds our lives and holds them steady and keeps them in place and does not allow our feet to be shaking or moved. For you, O God, have proved us, examined, tried us. You have tried, you've refined us as silver is tried. You brought us into the net. You laid affliction, pressure upon our loins. All right, so here's testing going on. You have caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but you brought us out into a wealthy place. Talking about bringing the children into the promised land. I will go into your house with burnt offerings. I will pay you my vows. The house is the tabernacle here, because the temple has not been built yet. It will not be until Solomon reigns. And David says, I will go in and I will honor my pledges and promises to you, which my lips have uttered and my mouth has spoken when I was in trouble or I was in distress. The word vows, if I can combine these 2 verses together, is the word that where we get votives from, like the candle, the little candles. And when God's people were not in Jerusalem or not where the tabernacle was, the Ark of the Covenant, to offer sacrifice, they would make a vow. They would light a votive candle, like when Jonah, out in the ship, the sailors lit candles. Jonah lit candles and said, when we get to shore, when we get back to where we can get to, I'll use the word to tabernacle, we'd say go to church, but when we get back, I will pay my vows. I will get right with God. I will confess my sin. I will do whatever it is I've promised, and I will make it public. I will offer unto you burnt sacrifices of fatlings. With the incense of rams, I will offer bullocks with goats. Once again, here's Selah. Think about it. And then we bring this psalm to a close, 16 through 20. In these 5 verses, people are called to hear. Come and hear, all you that fear God, and I will declare what he's done for me, for my soul. It's good to share with people what God's doing in your life. I cried unto him with my mouth. He was extolled, or is exalted with my tongue. So with my singing, with my verbiage, I have praised God. If I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. And so it's even saying this, the word regard is if I consider, meaning if I'm thinking about doing a sin, if I'm planning on doing some wickedness, he said right there, the Lord is not going to hear me. He doesn't wait until I commit it. But if we start harboring and thinking and considering and plotting iniquity, a sin in our inner man, the Lord won't hear us. But verily God has heard me. He has attended, he has heeded, paid attention to the voice of my prayer. Blessed be God, which has not turned away my prayer, nor his mercy or his faithfulness from me. What an incredible psalm. What a wonderful psalm. And can you see how this is a song of thanksgiving? It's thanksgiving for God's mercy and God's faithfulness, for God's greatness, his power, for answered prayer, for keeping his hand upon our lives, for leading and directing us. There's so many things. Go back and think of what God has in this verse has promised to you, and you will be better off for it. And so if I can be of any help to you, feel free to email. I will and do answer all my emails, and will help and pray for you, pray along with you on things if you have prayer requests. And I want to say thank you and God bless you. Thank you for listening. And read Psalm 67 if you're doing the book of Psalms with us, and just to be ready for the next lesson if you can. God bless.